If you have ever felt alone with that terribly negative naysaying voice from your ego, today's Heart Magic Monday is going to be particularly delightful. Welcome to Heart Magic Monday with the Empress, where we're going to be talking about ways that you can honor your ego. There is no good denying, suppressing, or ignoring this vicious voice because it will only amplify it and make it more powerful. Today I'm going to be using the example of me writing my third book as a prime example of how my ego's presence is involved in the whole decision-making process and how I navigate that by turning to my second advisor, my higher self or my soul, so that I can actually take two valid opinions into consideration when I'm navigating the creation of anything that's new in my life. It's very comforting to know that everyone actually has an ego, and I like to define ego as a stern, loving parent that will scream at you in order to keep you safe and protected. Our ego is a construct of every painful experience that we've ever had. Every time that you were physically, emotionally, or spiritually hurt in the past, your ego will actually construct a bunch of rules. And these rules will say when Lysa spoke her truth to Anne-Marie didn't respond very well, so let's create a rule that it's not safe for Lysa to actually share her truth with anyone anymore. So like an overprotective, pessimistic parent, your ego lingers over every choice and every situation in your life, watching to see if you're encroaching on any of the boundaries where you've been hurt in the past. Our ego believes that if it can actually compel us to keep all of its rules, then we will not experience any pain and we will be safe. So as soon as the desire to actually begin my third book gently arose in my heart, boom, down came the ego dialogue. You're doing another book. Another book. Do people really need to hear more from you? How about you just sit down and shut up? Nobody actually wants to hear from you, and the more you actually tell them, the less people are really going to like you. I personally believe that we never actually escape the barrage of our own ego dialogue for our whole entire lives. And in fact, the more that we try to shut it down, shut it off, and ignore it, the louder it actually will become. What I love teaching and sharing with people is the most powerful way to be able to integrate, align, and receive our ego dialogue in balance is actually by honoring and hearing it, remembering that it's a perspective that you don't need to adopt, and yet by hearing and honoring it, it will soften and allow you to find some peace. I need you to know that you are just not qualified to write books, that you don't have enough experience. You're 34. I know that you want to keep me safe. I know that in the past, when I've just been who I am, it hasn't always gone down that well. I don't personally believe you have anything important to say, so why go through all of the work of actually writing another book? You know, if you're really serious about being an author, you really need to look the part. You need to be more serious. You actually need to look a lot better. You need to drop some weight. You actually need to act a lot more professional. You are not professional enough to be a writer. I know that you want to keep me safe, and I really appreciate that you've brought these things to my attention. You see, the truth is that if we can simply listen and hear this dialogue, it will soften. If we can simply acknowledge the perspective without needing to buy into it or adopt it or take it on board for ourselves, just hearing the perspective alone will help you to remember that there's another voice that you can call upon. Lysa, I'm just so proud of you that you've come this far. Thank you for always being willing to risk sharing who you really are. I love that you follow your heart, that you know that simply because you have a desire for something, that it is meant for you. I'm so incredibly proud of you, and I know that your next book is going to be another magnificent creation. You absolutely know that this is meant for you. It doesn't matter what they say, it doesn't matter how your body looks, Just being who you are is the most beautiful, precious, and powerful thing that you can let yourself have and that you can give to the whole world. There was a time in my life when I felt like my ego was completely valid, that its rules were not up for debate, that they were actually valid, constructive, essential guidelines for my survival, and I heeded every one. The problem is that no matter how much we concede, obey, retreat, and stick to the apparent safe turf, that safety turf is actually going to retract. The reality is that the intention of trying to avoid any pain in this life is actually an impossibility, and that the more we actually train ourselves to obey and to retract ourselves according to our ego's will, according to ego's desire, the more it will actually mean that we give up the truth of who we are. And that's damaging. That's damaging to us on a soul level, to actually, for fear of something hurting us, deny the truth of who we are, retract and renege on our own desires, and be unwilling to fulfill our own soul purpose on the planet. So the next time that naysaying, nasty, protective voice comes in, I just want to remind you to listen, honor and hear its perspective, and watch as it dissipates. Always remember that your higher self, your soul, is instantaneously available, that you can call on that part of yourself to get a second opinion. Seriously, I spent the first 17 years of my life bound to ego rules, and I know that there is no peace to be found in conforming to every one of its perspectives. I know that as you wisely weigh up both of the counsel from your ego and your higher self, that you'll be able to impartially come back to your soul and make a wise decision that will bless you and so many others. I would love to hear what you thought of today's episode of Heart Magic Monday. If you've got a comment and something that you want to share about how ego has shown up in your life and presented a bunch of rules in order to control you, I would love to hear from you. How does it feel for you to think about honoring and listening to this voice within yourself? If you enjoyed today's Heart Magic Monday, I would love it if you could give this a big thumbs up so that it can reach more people. I wish everyone in the world knew that we all have this negative naysaying dialogue within us, that it is not the truth of who we are, and that as we honor and hear this voice, it will actually soften and make space for us to consult our own higher self so that we can take up that second gorgeous opinion and take it into consideration. This channel is dedicated to the healers and the helpers of the world who want to amplify in purpose, power, and peace. If you want to hear more Heart Magic Mondays with the Empress, please subscribe, and I'll be seeing you next time. Mwah. Your thighs are really far too big for you to be an author.